My name is Amy, and I'd like to share with you the journey of my recovery. I actually had a diagnosis of a mental illness at a very young age, so I don't remember life before it. My first hospitalization happened my junior year in high school, and it was at this time where I really felt the impact of the illness and the stigma. I went off to college at Texas Tech, and while there, life really hit a point where the despair became overwhelming, and I didn't know what to do or where to turn. And some friends of mine there actually helped me get to a place in Buffalo Gap, Texas, a treatment center. And it was once I ended up at that treatment center that for the first time in a long time, I actually felt heard. I felt that someone saw me, Amy, not the illness. And it meant the world to me. But even with that, and even with that individual standing up for me, the impact of the illness actually became too much, and I ended up being hospitalized again in another city. And it was during this time, during this hospitalization, that life really started slipping away, that I really started getting lost in the darkness, and I was told all the things I would never do in my life, never accomplish because of the illness. And eventually I gave up. I had been hospitalized between 40 and 50 times at my last hospitalization. But it was during that last hospitalization that everything changed. Because the first thing that happened during that last hospitalization is that the doctor, the psychiatrist there, sat me in her office, and what she said to me was that she believed that I could get better. She said it was going to be the hardest thing I ever did in my life, but that I could get better. And that was the first time since the time at Buffalo Gap, Texas, that someone believed in me. And it was in that moment that I started seeing glimpses of a future. Didn't know what it looked like, didn't know how to get there, but I started seeing glimpses. And it was situation after situation, individual after individual, building me up, believing in me, that allowed me to kind of take the steps out of the hole that I was in. Many things happened during that year that I'll never forget, but probably one of the most impactful things was a conversation I had with a psychologist. And what she did was she just very simply asked me what my hopes and dreams were. And I couldn't tell her, because I was so used to living a life without hopes and dreams, a life that I never saw any possibility of living, that I had never thought of it. And I started crying, and it was in those moments, though, that things really changed. And for the first time, I started seeing life as being possible. I started talking about wanting to have a job and go back to work, and I wanted to have a family and live on my own. I created this dreams list where on it was I wanted to be a productive citizen. I wanted to travel, go to Hawaii, Washington, D.C., all these things. And each time I came up with something, it was like a little bit of life was breathed in me. And I can tell you today that I've done a lot of those things on that list, and that recovery is possible, and that I had things on that list that I never really thought were possible, and I've done them. I got to go swim with the turtles in Hawaii this last year. Experiences I never would have had that doctor not taken a chance on me that day, had that doctor done just what had occurred before. She believed in me, which allowed me to start believing in myself. And today, my last hospitalization happened 15 years ago. I've gone from someone who was in and out of hospitals every other week to someone who now held a job and had a job at the same state hospital I was hospitalized at for almost 12 years. I'm now the peer support and recovery coordinator at Blue Water Trails Community Services, starting a new venture in my life. I've had relationships, I've lived on my own. I live a really great life. And I'm an individual with a diagnosis of a mental illness. It's not who I am, it's not what I am, it's just a diagnosis I have. Who I am is Amy. And life is really great. And life is possible for anyone with this diagnosis. It's available. Sometimes it's just a little bit tough, and sometimes it's hard. And life is hard and tough. But it's possible.